Out of all the various elemental hero decks, Favorite Duel may have gotten the biggest boost from the most recent ban list. That's because previously with Liquid Soldier at 2, you could only run one copy along with one copy of the Brave Neos, really limiting your options. But now we're able to run a full 3 copies of Liquid Soldier and the 2 Brave Neos and 3 copies of Neos Fusion with no problem whatsoever now that Liquid Soldier has been completely removed from the list. It may be the new best way to play elemental heroes, we'll have to see between this and Hero Lines, but this deck is absolutely insane. We'll of course go over all the combos and everything once we get into the replays. First we'll go ahead and go through the deck list. So everything centers around our skill Favorite Duel. Now, this skill can be used 3 times per duel, once per turn. You send an elemental hero monster or a Neospatial monster from your hand to the graveyard, then you can send an elemental hero normal monster or a Neospatial monster from your deck to the graveyard. So pitch an E hero from your hand to grave, send one from deck to grave, that's a normal monster. So the ideal thing is you want to be able to send your Liquid Soldier from your hand to graveyard, send in elemental hero Neos from your deck to grave, and then you get your Miracle Fusion to hand for free. Well, it's not free because you have to discard one for it, but you get your Miracle Fusion to hand, you activate it, banish 2, including the Liquid Soldier, you'll summon your Neos monster, and then you're going to get the draw 2, discard 1 effect off the Liquid Soldier, which gives you a +1 off of it. So that's the basic combo that you're going to be running with this deck. You do have the Flame Wingman to go into because you have the materials for it as well, but that's basically it. 3 times per game, you're going to discard a hero monster, send one from deck to grave, and get the Miracle Fusion, and basically you have all the material in graveyard you need for your Miracle Fusion immediately to activate. Again, you can do this 3 times per duel, and if you do happen to summon the Flame Wingman, you can actually activate Skyscraper from outside your deck too. A neat little bonus if you do happen to go into this that sort of mirrors that anime duel, the very first one from the Yu-Gi-Oh! GX anime if you've seen it. Really cool that we're able to do that and have like an effective way to go into monsters like this in Duel Links, you know, whereas like these cards would usually not be very good in the TCG. So basically into the base strategy, as I mentioned, you're basically just want to get Liquid Soldier to your hand, and we have or into the graveyard because you can also just dump it that way as well and dump any other elemental hero monster from your hand to the graveyard to trigger the effect of it. But yeah, the main idea is to get this in the hand or grave. Of course, we have the 3 copies of it, we have the 3 copies of Stratos, and a reinforcement of the army to search it out, but we can also dump it to the graveyard with our Neos Fusion. And being able to do that just gives us a ton of different ways to access the Liquid Soldier. Pretty much guarantees that most games we're going to have a way to get the draw 2, discard 1, which is really important because you really need to get into your Liquid Soldier every turn to maintain that card advantage. The other key card is our Elemental Hero Neos. You really don't want to draw this. You would love for this to stay in the deck for the most part and to send it to grave with your skill or with Neos Fusion. That's the main reason why we're running 30 cards in this deck, other than the skill requirement forcing us to run the other normal monsters here. The skill requirement for this deck does hurt at times because not only do we have to run these other normal monsters, but also it prevents us from summoning things like Elemental Hero Sunrise and other powerful E-Hero monsters. But the Brave Neos and the Neos Knight are enough coming off the Elemental Hero Neos. But that's why Neos is so important for this deck, because we absolutely need him to go into all of our fusion monsters other than the Flame Wingman. We only have 2 of each, so I mentioned the 2 Brave Neos earlier and the 2 Neos Knights. These things are your main beaters and your main monsters that you're going to be winning most of your duels with. Brave Neos gains 100 attack for each Neospatial or hero in your graveyard, and if you destroy a monster by battle with it, you can search your deck for a Neos Fusion, so a nice way to gain card advantage. And then, of course, you have the Neos Knight here, which gains attack equal to the other monster used for it. So if you summon it with like a Liquid Soldier, it's going to go up to 3,200 attack points, and it can attack twice, though your opponent takes no battle damage from this. So it's mostly just to clean out monsters and the big, powerful threat that's like over 3,000 damage your opponent has trouble dealing with. You can also like use your Brave Neos for it if it's been sent to the graveyard already as your material with it off the Neos Knight and give us like a gigantic attack boost, and force your opponent to have to deal with something that's like well over 3,500 attack points, which can be very difficult to do at times if with all the protection that we have in here to try to keep it alive. But yeah, again, our main key is to try to get Liquid Soldiers to the graveyard through any means possible, or to our hand for any means possible. And like I said, we have plenty of ways to get to it to go into these. So the other cards in the deck, we have the 1 Neospatial Grand Mole. This is the 1 Neospatial monster that's really good on its own and you know, can just survive being there. It's really good against a number of different things, taking out extra deck monsters, being able to bounce them back. You'll see in the replays there's a Lunalight player who is absolutely able to devastate with this card. Plus the fusion monster you can go into with the Elemental Hero Grand Neos is nice as well. It just gives you an extra option to help remove your opponent's threats, and to have 1 extra thing you can summon off of your Miracle Fusion or your Neos Fusion. Excuse me, or you can only summon off the Neos Fusion, actually. You can't Miracle Fusion with it, but you can summon off the Neos Fusion though. We also, of course, have the 3 normal monsters in here that are required by our skill. I mentioned the Reinforcement of the Army, triple Book of Moon for the protection, triple Neos Fusion. This card is really great, not just for summoning our monster, but of course it has the protection effect. If a Elemental Hero Neos monster would be destroyed, one of your Fusion monsters will be destroyed by some kind of card effect or battle. You can banish this from your graveyard to protect it, as well as all of them for the turn. So if multiple ones will be destroyed by something like a Needle Sealing or whatever, you can protect it with the Neos Fusion, protect all of them with the Neos Fusion, which is a really nice way to bait your opponent out too, which is why we're running this card. We also have the 2 Forbidden Chalice in here, 1 Ring of Destruction, 2 Warning Point, 2 Bottomless, the 1 Needle Sealing. You can run multiple copies of this. I did find that against some matchups it's a dead drop just because some decks don't summon a ton of monsters. But it is really powerful against decks that do, so this is a really powerful card you may want to consider running multiple copies of. And then I have 2 expendable die. Remember, we do have the 3 Neos Fusion that is still a limit 3, so we can't run any limit 3 traps like Lost Wind or Compulse. So we have to run all these other non-limit trap cards, which are still really powerful though in their own right though. So I feel like we still have a really good complement of back row cards to protect ourselves. I've gone through most of the extra deck already. I mentioned the 1 Grand Neos, the 2 Brave Neos. We have the 1 Elemental Hero Flaming Shining Flare Wingman. Never summoned this. I don't think I've ever summoned this at all playing with this deck, and I've played with this deck quite a bit, not just in the last couple days, but also in the last, in a few months that this deck has existed. So, never summoned that once. We have the 2 Neos Knight, the 1 Flaming Wingman, and then the 1 Nightmare Phoenix if you really desperately need to get rid of some back row, or have a Nightmare Corruptor Ibly that you have on your field to deal with. So, let's go ahead and get into the replays. So we're playing against a Speedroid player. This can be a little bit problematic because we do have a lot of leveled monsters that the Speedroid Synchro monsters, well, I guess they're not technically Speedroid Synchro monsters, they're the Dragon Synchro monsters that have to do with like Queerwing Synchro Dragon and all that stuff, but they affect the monsters that have high levels like ours does. So someone that we're definitely going to have to worry about here, especially with him going into the Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon here, able to negate monster effects and 2 back rows to protect themselves. So first things first, we top deck the reinforcement of the army. That's huge. Remember, the big thing is we got to get to our Liquid Soldier here somehow. So we're going to go ahead and activate the Rhoda, search the deck for the Stratos. Now we need to see if he's going to activate his Clearwing Synchro Dragon to negate this. If he does, we're in a tough position. We do have the ability to like go for Neos Fusion and try to, out stuff that way, but we're not in a good spot here with him having 2 back row. So gonna go ahead and summon the Stratos and see if he negates. He chooses not to, instead trying to save the Synchro Dragon for something that's gonna like destroy this. But that's a mistake here on his part. He really should have negated this, and since he didn't, we're gonna punish him for it. So activate Favorite Duel. We're gonna discard our Liquid Soldier from our hand to the graveyard and send Neos from our deck to grave, which gives us Miracle Fusion to our hand via the skill. We're going to go ahead and activate the Miracle Fusion to banish those 2 monsters that we just sent to the graveyard in order to summon the Elemental Hero Brave Neos to the board. This is going to trigger the skill of the Liquid Soldier to give us a draw 2 and discard 1. So we'll go ahead and discard 1. I'm going to choose to discard the Neos Fusion just to give us some protection in the graveyard right here. I could have activated it to summon another monster, but I don't actually have an out really, like a good out to the Synchro Dragon. So dumping this to the graveyard immediately and then setting the Needle Sealing is actually a nice way to do so, because we can now protect the Neos with the Neos Fusion while wiping out his board and monster with the Needle Sealing. So we're going to go ahead and try to swing over his monster. He does Book a Moon to put our monster face down. This is when I was running the 2 Needle Sealing at first, so I did make that change later on in the deck list, but he books our monster to stop the attack and ends up MSTing our Book a Moon. Not the worst thing in the world. We're in an okay spot now. So he just sets a card and goes to the battle phase. So we'll just go ahead and activate the Needle Sealing, queen out his monsters. We do lose the Stratos, but our Brave Neos is face down, so we gotta keep it without having to waste the Neos Fusion out of the graveyard. And from this point on, we're in a really good spot. We unfortunately don't have another Liquid Soldier, so we'll just dump the Neos from our hand to the graveyard. Again, it's always terrible when we draw this, but it does happen. Send another random Elemental Hero from our deck to grave. Go ahead and get the Miracle Fusion. Whip up the Brave Neos, activate the Miracle Fusion, banish 2 to go ahead and summon another Brave Neos. Remember, the other one doesn't allow us to, the other Elemental Hero Fusion monster doesn't allow us to deal battle damage, so we want to go for the Brave Neos here, to try to finish him off. He does have a Crackdown, though, which is going to allow him to take a monster of mine, which is really frustrating. However, though, the monster he takes does not gain the attack boost because he has no Elemental Heroes in his graveyard, so I'm able to swing over his monster, destroy it, and trigger the effect of my Brave Neos to get another Neos Fusion to our hand, which is really important because now we have a way to dump the Liquid Soldier to our graveyard. So we'll go ahead and do that, activate that to send a Grand Neos just to summon another monster because we actually don't even need it because he has nothing on field. We can just swing directly and deal enough damage to win the game here. Alright, now next up we have a Lunalight matchup. This deck can be a little bit problematic because we don't have a ton of ways to out their Lunalight fusion monsters, right? You have the ones that can't be targeted, they can't be destroyed by card effects, the newest one they just got, and the old one that they had before that are really difficult for our deck to deal with. So we're going to go ahead and go for our combos. This is part of the reason why I'm putting my monsters in defense mode, because we just didn't have a ton of protection for like a Cat Dancer play. So we're going to go ahead and get our draw 2, discard 1. Now that's huge. Needle Stealing can help deal with some of his threats, but even then there's still that one Lunite monster that it can't kill. The newest boss monster they just got. Book of Moon is also nice. We're going to do a pretty nice play here against Lunalite. So he activates his Lunalite Fusion, expecting to send one from his deck to the graveyard because we have an extra deck monster on the board. I'm going to go ahead and chain my Book of Moon and just try to take a bet that he doesn't have 3 Lunalite monsters in his hand. And we end up being right about that. He only has 2, so he's forced to go into the Cat Dancer here, which we can very easily take care of with a bottomless trap hole. Now, he did send away the Yellow Martin, so he gets another Lunalite Fusion to his hand. That's something we're going to have to deal with, unfortunately. He also had the White Rabbit, so he's able to get back the Blue Cat. He can then even go ahead and use Yellow Martin if he wants to bounce something else back to hand, but we have a Needle Stealing here, which will wipe out his board, preventing him from doing that. Unfortunately, though, I forgot, Blue Cat has another effect that very rarely comes up, but it is still there. If this card is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can special summon a Lunalite from your deck. Totally forgot about that, but that's totally fine. It just gives him a little bit of protection here. We still got to figure out a way to get through his, try to finish him off here. See if we can in one turn, hoping that he doesn't have a hand trap. But we do have the Neospatian Grand Mole, so we can deal with problematic Lunalite monsters that can't be targeted if necessary. So we'll go ahead and activate our skill again. We're going to send the Liquid Soldier. We're fortunate to get it here. Get into our Neo so that we can get our Miracle Fusion. Go ahead and go for the Brave Neo, so we'll get the draw 2, discard 1. Discard another Liquid Soldier so we have it in graveyard for later on. Activate the Neo's Fusion to try to summon something. We're going to try to go for the win here. Summon the Grand Mole to bounce our monsters back to hand. Go for game, but he has the White Princess, so we're not going to be able to finish him off here. Very unfortunate, but it's okay because we still have the Grand Mole to take care of any any of those problematic Lunalite monsters. Plus, we have Neo's Fusion engraved to protect, but it's definitely a very difficult position because we have no way to prevent him from summoning his big boss monster here. Lunalite Leo Dancer hits the board. This thing is very difficult to deal with. It cannot be destroyed by card effects, cannot be targeted by card effects. It's got 3,500 attack points. We just did a Lunalite video a few days ago. It's up on the channel if you guys want to check that out. Know a little bit more about how this deck works, but it is absolutely devastating card. So he's going to swing over one of our monsters, use its effect to blow up all of our other special summon monsters on the board. We'll use Neo's Fusion to try to protect against that. He does get to make a second attack, though, taking out another monster. Again, this thing is absolutely ridiculous. One of the best boss monsters in the game right now. However, though, it does have some weaknesses. One of them is Neospatian Grand Mole. This card does not target, it does not destroy, it doesn't need to go through with the actual battle. Its effect is just going to bounce his monster back to the extra deck very easily for us, so we'll do that. Grand Mole attack, bounce his monster. We got a clear board to swing through and win the game with Brave Neos. Alright. So this is a going second game against Armed Dragon, one that was doing pretty dang good before we played against it here. He's going to go into his combo, try to set up an Armed Dragon on the board that has the effect that you can destroy a card on your opponent's side of the field basically once per turn with it. Really annoying thing to try to deal with. Armed Dragon Lightning is another problematic card. If an Armed Dragon monster will be destroyed, you can destroy this instead. Plus, you can give your monster attack point boost and just be really annoying. So, again, he sets up with the one back row, and then this Armed Dragon level 10 that I mentioned earlier that can, once per turn on your opponent's turn, pop a card on or destroy a card on your opponent's side of the field. So we're going to turn that off right away with Book of Moon, stop him from being able to do anything with it. He has the Forbidden Lance, but we have the second Book of Moon to flip it face down. This is part of the reason why we run the triple Book of Moon and double Forbidden Shadow, so we can shut down problematic monster effects like this. Now we're free to proceed with our combo. We have the Liquid Soldier in our hand, so we'll go ahead and use it to use the skill to dump it to the graveyard, along with the Neos, get our Miracle Fusion, activate the Miracle Fusion, summon our Fusion monster, Brave Neos. Let's get that nice draw 2, discard 1, giving us a plus. We can freely swing over his monster. That also triggers the effect to search Neo's Fusion, and we're in a good spot here with 3 set back row, Neo's Fusion in hand, and a Brave Neos on board. Now, we do have to be careful because the second part of the Armed Dragon deck is going to come into effect now, right? Dark Armed Dragon, extremely powerful removal card. We know that's probably going to hit the board. He can easily dump 3 Dark monsters into his graveyard with the skill. So, first things first, let's go ahead and use the Warning Point to stop the Armed Dragon level 3 here, prevent him from trying to summon anything else with it. We still have a Needle Stealing and a Ring of Destruction. Hopefully that's enough to try to shut down anything else that he does here, though it might be difficult to do so. He summons the Armed Dragon level 10 to the board, adding the White Veil to hand. No Dark Armed Dragon yet, though. If he doesn't have one, we could be in a good spot. We'll go ahead and use the Ring of Destruction. He is able to protect, though, with the Armed Dragon Lightning. That is unfortunate. Taking out our back row card with the effect of this. So it's going to put us in a problematic position, but we fortunately top deck into another Elemental Hero monster, so we can try to go for some kind of answer here. So use the skill, dump Elemental Hero Monster to the graveyard. We have the Miracle Fusion, and this is going to let us go into a Neos Knight at a pretty high attack point value. Remember, this thing gains attack to whatever else you've used a fusion summon with it, so if you use a fusion monster with it, it's going to go up to a pretty nice attack point value like it does here, 3750, very easily able to swing over anything that he puts out into the board. So we'll go ahead and use the Neos Fusion to go ahead and summon another monster to the field. White Veil isn't able to protect him at all. He takes the 3000 damage from the White Veil, swing over his other monster. We'll take the win against the Armed Dragon deck. Alright, going first, I'm assuming we're playing against Destiny Hero here. I would summon the Stratos, use its effect to search for Liquid Soldier, use our skill to dump our monsters to the graveyard, get us our Miracle Fusion. You guys have seen this several times now. Truly powerful being able to get this draw to discard one. And again, we're just getting the plus off the Stratos and then getting the plus off the Liquid Soldier. We've got 2 monsters on the board, 2 back row, 2 cards in hand. Pretty nice turn 1 against any deck that we're playing against. So it is in fact Destiny Hero. I did play against Destiny Heroes a few times, and I found that whoever went first won most of the games in the Destiny Hero versus this E-Hero deck matchup. And that was one of the big determining factors. But you can still win going second, but that was a huge thing with this. So he's actually going to make an interesting play here, going for the Vision Hero Trinity. Even with 2 back row, just going to try to just go for it. Just try to go for the win with this thing. Just trying to disregard these 2 things. So we do have the bottom to try to stop it. He does have the Forbidden Lance, though, so we can see why he went and did that. But we also have a warning point, so we do have a way to shut this down. And the Forbidden Lance is actually going to turn this monster down to only 1700 attack at this point, so he can't even swing over our Stratos now. So he's going to go ahead and activate his Malicious, set a back row. So he has a little bit of a threat here, but we're in a really good position now because, again, just every turn, just turn by turn, you're getting a new fusion monster every, just constantly with your skill. And while you're not always going to get the draw to discard one with the Liquid Soldier, as long as you're able to put out a monster every turn, though, you can usually threaten your opponent. And he knew he had no way to stop us at this point, so we get the win versus Destiny Hero. I tried to get more going second games. Unfortunately, though, I ended up winning a lot of the coin flips. And going first in a lot of these games, I ended up winning like almost 15 in a row, pretty much. It was only, I think, 1 or twice in that time that I actually had to go second. So, turn 1, we have our main combo here. We open up with the Liquid Soldier in hand, can discard it. Go for everything with the Miracle Fusion. We end on the Brave Neos Knight. Warning point plus 2 back row. Only plus 1 because we didn't have a Stratos, but it's okay. We're still in a pretty good position here against whatever it is that we're up against. It's going to be an Orcus deck. Activating the Orcus Return. Activates Dark Hole, but we did activate the Neos Fusion. We have 2 engraved to protect ourselves, so we use up 1 here. He's going to go ahead and go for the Scrap Recycler, but we have a warning point. That's going to stop the effect and prevent him from Link Summoning with it, so no Orcus Galatea hitting the board here. We're in a really good spot. Go ahead and activate our skill to dump from our hand to the graveyard. Because we were able to dump the Liquid Soldier to the grave with the Neos Fusion, we can get the draw to discard 1 here off of it. So we'll go for a Fusion Summon, bring out the Brave Neos, get the draw effects. He does have a Bottomless Trap Hole, but again, we have the Neos Fusion in the graveyard to protect, so we'll get the draw 1, discard, go and swing over his 2 monsters with the Neos Knight, hit directly with both the Brave Neos, and we'll take the easy win versus Orcus. Alright, now this was kind of an awkward game. I decided to go ahead and show it here. So we don't have the Liquid Neos in hand, we just have the Burst Lady. So we're going to go ahead and discard that and Avian. I'm going to go ahead and just go for our Flame Wingman play. We don't do it too often, but it is pretty cool. And we get a summon animation when we do it as well. Have him jumping off the skyscraper that we actually get to activate with our skill now. We don't get to do this too often, but it is pretty cool when we get to. So summon the Flame Wingman, set 2 back row, activate our skill to get Skyscraper to the board. I probably should have set this because I really didn't expect us to be playing against Elemental Hero cards, but our opponent summons Blazeman, and he can actually take advantage of the Skyscraper himself too, so just more to the wise, if you use this deck, your opponent can take advantage of your Skyscraper if they have Elemental Hero monsters. So he's going to summon the Blazeman. I'm going to Chalice it so he doesn't get the Polymerization Search off of it. I have no idea what I'm really playing against at this point. He just swings over my Flame Wingman, taking advantage of our Skyscraper, and doesn't do anything else with his turn, so not the worst thing in the world, but we really don't want to bounce his monster back to hand with Grand Mole, so we got to find a way to deal with this. Fortunately, we get a Neos Fusion. That's going to let us go ahead and activate it, dump a Liquid Soldier to our graveyard, get Brave Neos, swing over this thing so that we can get the Search and grab another Neos Fusion from our deck to hand. But he has the Roll-In, so that he's able to get the Search here during the end phase to add the Immortal Phoenix Gearfried to his hand. That is very concerning that he was able to do that. We do have the one back row to try to stop this, but Expendable Die on our Brave Neos is not really like the best play, but it's one I think we're unfortunately going to have to make here. So he summons his Immortal Phoenix Gearfried, equips to it. He's also going to go ahead and summon a Link Karibo with it. That's going to give him another search in the end phase here. He'll go to battle phase, we'll take out his monster so he can't really do anything. We'll get the draw off of it. But again, he gets the search in the end phase, and he has another Immortal Phoenix Gearfried coming next turn. So we've got to draw into more back row here. Unfortunately, we do. We have a couple more that we got here off the Expendable Die, and for turn, we also have a Liquid Soldier in graveyard. So when we use our skill here, we dump the Grand Mole, dump one from our deck to grave, grab the Miracle Fusion. Miracle Fusion can be used to banish our Liquid Soldier, giving us that very important draw to discard one. So we'll bring out the big old Neo Snipe that is 3,200 attack points. A little bit difficult for his Gearfried to get over it as is. We draw into some more back row cards here, so we're able to summon the Stratos, get an additional search off here, set our 3 back row. We're in a good spot. He does have Book of Moon to protect his life points here, but that's more than okay. We're feeling really good about our card advantage at this point. So he's going to summon the Immortal Phoenix Gearfried as well as the Stratos of his own, searching for Liquid Soldier. That's very concerning that he's going to have some fusion plays there and can go into Sunrise. But we're going to shut down his play here, Book of Moon his monster, ring his other monster, cleaning everything out. We have another Stratos here. He is going to try to use Crackdown on this thing, which on his monster, but that's okay because we can just use Stratos to pop the back row with its effect. We have our skill one final time here to be able to bring out the Brave Neos, and now with this board, this should be more than enough to clean out our opponent, prevent him from being able to win the game. And in fact it is, and we take the win versus the Immortal Phoenix Gearfried deck. Guys, that's it for this video. If you liked the video, please be sure to like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel, and I appreciate the support. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great rest of the day.